Okay, so I must be understanding the reasoning and the rationale behind this because I've seen it debunked, but federal judges have blocked North Carolina's voter ID law, saying that you have to have photo ID in order to vote, stating that it unfairly is biased against blacks and Latinos. Now, I've heard the argument before, and I've also seen it be debunked where people have gone into black and Latino majority cities and said, hey, are you able to get ID? And everybody's like, yeah, I've got my ID right here. And then people said, well, do you know where the DMV is? And people were like, yeah, it's 2 blocks this way. You go there, and there's the DMV. So I'm a little confused, and I'm asking someone out there to educate me on why requiring photo ID to vote is biased against black and Latino voters. Why is it that blacks and Latinos cannot get picture ID? Because what I saw was people saying, hey, the Democrats say that blacks and Latinos can't get ID, and the blacks and Latinos that I had seen during these multiple experiments, I guess, I don't know what you'd call them, not social experiments, investigations, I guess, had all said, well, that's crazy. I have my ID right here. I've got my ID right here. In fact, I live in a very heavily Latino-controlled area, and I don't know any Latinos that don't have their ID and don't know how to get it. They're all smart. They all know where it is. So why? Why is requiring ID to vote bias? I don't understand it. It's to verify that you are indeed a United States citizen and that you are indeed eligible to vote. That's what it's for. We only want eligible voters to vote. We don't want people from other countries coming in and voting and then leaving, changing our election. Let's read this article. Maybe it'll explain it, but I kind of doubt it, and I'm hoping one of you guys can explain it to me. I'll read the title first. Federal judge to halt latest North Carolina voter ID law. Why? Raleigh, North Carolina. Republican attempts to require photo identification to vote in North Carolina are being thwarted again by judges hearing arguments that the mandate is tainted by bias that would either deter black and Latino, tainted by bias that would deter black and Latino residents. Why? If you're an illegal resident, you're not allowed to vote. So it doesn't matter if you have ID or not, you're not allowed to vote. If you are a legal citizen, black, Latino, then you can get ID. It's been proven. I've seen it. A federal court announced that next week, U.S. District Judge Loretta Biggs will formally block a photo ID requirement scheduled to begin in 2020. Unless the upcoming preliminary injunction is successfully appealed, the requirement will be halted until a lawsuit filed by the state NAACP and others is resolved. Thursday's short written notice from the federal court in Winston-Salem previewed Biggs' order because the state election officials were planning to expand efforts to educate voters about the ID law within days. Although the mandate would be carried out beginning with the March 3rd primary, the requirement would actually start in just a few weeks with mail-in absentee ballot filers who would also have to provide an ID copy. Okay? I see nothing wrong with it so far. If you want to vote, you show ID. If you want to buy cigarettes, you show ID. If you want to buy alcohol, you show ID. If you want to drive a vehicle, then you have a driver's license to prove that you are indeed valid to drive. If you want to vote, you should be able to prove that you are indeed valid to vote. I don't see the problem. Latinos are smart. Blacks are smart. What are they suggesting? That they're not smart enough to get ID? Because that's been proven false. The mandate identified several types of qualifying photo IDs and allowed people lacking one to get a free ID card. A free ID card, or fill out a form while voting explaining their reasonable impediment to obtaining one. Okay, so you can get it for free. What is the excuse, people? Someone tell me. Do blacks and Latinos not know where the DMV is? I don't think so. They're smart people, right? We're all human beings. We're all smart enough. It's free, so it's not that there's a money issue. So why? Why not show ID to vote? I don't want any Tom, Dick, and Harry to come in and vote and cast their vote and then go to another state and vote in that state and then go to another state and vote in that state. I don't want people to come in from another country en masse and vote for who they think will help out their country, or just, for malice vote who they think will be the worst for our country. That's a horrible idea. GOP leaders in charge of the legislation have been trying for most of the decade to advance voter ID, saying that more than 30 states require it, and it builds confidence in elections. Yes, it does, because without photo ID, how do you know who's voting? How do you know they haven't voted twice? How do you know they're not coming in saying, well, I'm so-and-so, and I'm so-and-so, and next time I'm so-and-so, and they just go from one voting place to another voting place to another voting place? How do you prevent that? How do you make sure that someone's a valid voter without ID? Well, we just, by blind faith, accept, okay, you're allowed to vote. We can't. Why? Because human beings are human beings, and human beings are not altruistic. Data shows voter impersonation is rare, however. Rare does not mean non-existent. Rare just means it happens, but it's not often. But it shouldn't happen at all. We shouldn't let it happen at all. We should do whatever we can to stop it. The voting pool, currently 6.8 million registered voters, is critical in a closely divided presidential battleground state where statewide races are often competitive between the major parties. Yes. I'm confused at what the controversy is. If it's free, then what are you saying? Why can't they get their ID? Someone explain it to me. Why is it that they're trying to say that black voters and Latino voters have a more difficult time getting ID? Because I don't see it. I haven't seen it. I live in a very heavily Latino populated area. Everybody's got ID. And if it was free, what's the excuse? If you don't even have to get that ID but fill out a piece of paper explaining why you didn't get the ID or you can't get the ID, then what's the problem? What is the issue? Why block this? It sounds good to me. I must be missing something. There must be something I'm missing. Someone out there explain it to me. Oh, man. Voter ID was actually carried out in North Carolina's 2016 primary elections as the result of a 2013 law. But a federal appeals court struck down several portions of the law in July 2016, saying photo ID and other voting restrictions were approved with the intentional racial discrimination in mind. How? Most people I know, regardless of their ethnicity, have ID. And if it's free, what's the excuse? What's the reason? Nobody has been able to explain it logically to me. Now people have tried to explain it and going into personal attacks and things like that, and I'm sitting here genuinely confused. I genuinely don't see why people are saying blacks and Latinos, and every time they come up with an argument of, well, because blacks don't and Latinos don't know where the DMV is, or there's not one in black and Latino neighborhoods. However, they did a study, and they actually went into these neighborhoods, and they said, do you know where the DMV is? And every single person said, yeah, it's right around here. And then they asked, do you have ID? Yeah, I've got my ID right here. Every single one of them. Not one of them said, yeah, I don't know where the DMV is. So what is the reason? I'm genuinely asking, what is the reason? Republicans strongly disagreed with that decision and put a constitutional amendment on the November 2018 ballot, a strategy designed to give the idea more legal and popular standing. The amendment passed with 55% of the vote. The legislature approved a separate law in December 2018 detailing how to implement that amendment. Lawsuits challenging that, law were filed immediately. Of course they were. Why? I mean, I understand Democrats' biggest base, people who generally vote Democrat, are going to be the Latinos and blacks. So they want that vote. So they want that virtual signal, I guess. I don't know. I don't know what the reason behind it is, because it doesn't make sense. Why? Why don't we want to know who is voting? The new rules allow additional government IDs to meet the mandate, including public and private university cards, but they still prevent government IDs for public assistance programs from being used, disproportionately affecting African Americans, the NAACP said. Okay. But they still have government-issued ID, like a driver's license or something like that. And it said above that the law would say, hey, if you don't have any of those IDs, you can fill out a piece of paper, or you can go get this ID. So what is the excuse? If you have this public assistance program ID, then go get the other ID for voting. I'm confused. I don't understand. And I know people are going to say, you're living in a bubble, this and that, and privilege because I'm white and white privilege. And people who say white privilege to me, go stick your head in the sand. Go bug someone else. I've eaten out of dumpsters. I've slept under bushes. I've hitchhiked across the United States. I've rode the rails, the dirty face. Sorry. Riding the rails has a different meaning nowadays. Back in the day, it meant something else. Riding the dirty face, a train hobo. I have been there. I have been through some crap. So don't you pull that privilege card with me. I put myself through college. Didn't get grants, didn't get help, didn't get assistance while being homeless. So give me that white privilege crap that people love to shove around to shut down the conversation. I'm coming from an aspect of human beings are all smart, and it appears that they're being given every opportunity to meet everything and every requirement as easily as possible. I don't want everybody to be able to just claim some random name and vote. I don't want people to come from other countries and be able to vote in our elections. That's not fair. It doesn't make sense to me. I don't know. Maybe somebody out there can educate me a little bit better. And if somebody comes up with a good argument, then I'll be like, yeah, okay, yeah. IDs are no good. Let's get rid of them for voting. But until I hear a good argument, I'm sticking with the fact that it doesn't make sense to me. People can get ID. People can get this other ID, and people can fill out this paper saying why they don't have ID so that they can vote. We want eligible voters to vote. We don't want the whole world to vote in our elections. That defeats the purpose of our elections. Anyways, I might be totally wrong. I might be totally off my rocker. I bet you there's some people screaming at their computer, their phone, their laptop, whatever you're watching this on right now, saying all kinds of nasty stuff to me. Take a step back. Take a deep breath and breathe and come up with a rational argument on why this disproportionately affects Latinos and blacks. An argument that hasn't been explored and debunked already. We know that there are DMVs in these neighborhoods. It's not that they don't exist in these neighborhoods. It's not that the Latinos and blacks are not smart enough to go get ID. That's not the case. Why is it that we're making it easier for anybody to come and vote? That's not fair to the American citizen. Anyways, this is going to be a very unpopular one. I don't care. It's my opinion, and I'm curious why. Someone educate me. Someone tell me why. In a good, nice, rational, reasoned manner. Stay away from personal attacks, please. You resort to personal attacks, and you've lost. You do your cause more harm than good. Anyways, that's what I got on this one, because I am curious. I am curious as a cat on why. Why does this affect blacks and Latinos more than anybody else? Why? In fact, come to think of it, in my life, I've known more white people that didn't have ID than Latinos and blacks. And I've known more Latinos and blacks in my life than I have whites, simply because of the areas that I have been in, and the areas that I've been in most constantly in my life. Someone explain it. Anyways, that's what I got on this one, because I'm curious. I'll see you on the next one.